it talks, let's take a look. Life and hope in every book.
Today, we're embarking on really a profound deep dive into one of the most iconic and powerful speeches in human history, Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream. And this isn't just, a historical document to be studied in a textbook. It feels like a living blueprint for hope and justice, a moral compass whose needle still points true, especially, I think, for a new generation grappling with these persistent questions of fairness and equality. Our mission today is to explore the profound messages and enduring values embedded in King's meticulously chosen words and truly understand why they continue to resonate with such force across all generations, including yours. We'll pull back the layers, look at the strategic genius, the unwavering faith, and the radical hope that powered a movement and continues to inspire millions.
It's really remarkable, isn't it, how a speech delivered over 6 decades ago still feels so urgent and relevant. It's almost as if King was speaking directly to the challenges of today sometimes. And what's truly fascinating here is how King masterfully articulated both things: the stark, unvarnished reality of profound injustice, and at the same time, this expansive, almost breathtaking vision of a better future.
Right. He didn't just list problems or offer vague ideals.
No, not at all. He delivered a powerful, eloquent roadmap for change, really weaving together historical fact, moral imperative, and, well, poetic aspiration. So we'll be focusing exclusively on the specific language and concepts he presented, showing how his very words offer a timeless path forward, a guide, you could say, for anyone seeking to understand, advocate for, and contribute to justice in their own time.
Okay, let's unpack this monumental moment then. King begins his address by declaring his happiness to join in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. That's an incredibly bold claim right from the outset, isn't it? Especially considering the long struggle for liberty in America. What's the significance of him framing it this way, right at the very beginning? What was he signaling?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, he's immediately placing the event within the grand, sweeping narrative of American history. He's establishing its profound historical weight from the jump.
So not just another protest.
Exactly. He wasn't just talking about a protest march that day. He was framing it as a pivotal landmark event, deliberately putting it on par with other defining moments like, the Declaration of Independence or the Civil War. And to do this, he masterfully invokes the spirit of Abraham Lincoln, noting they stand there that day in the symbolic shadow of the great American who, 50 years ago, 100 years prior, signed the Emancipation Proclamation.
Right, bringing Lincoln right into the present moment.
Precisely. And this decree, King reminds his audience, came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity.
Wow, so right from the start, he's doing something strategically brilliant.
Totally. He's not just describing a contemporary gathering. He's positioning the March on Washington as a direct continuation of this profound historical struggle for liberation. He's rooting it deeply in the nation's past, in the very fabric of its stated ideals, signaling this isn't a new fight, but a necessary and, frankly, overdue chapter in an ongoing quest for freedom.
It gives the moment immense gravitas.
It does. It connects it to the deepest aspirations of the American project. He's telling everyone present and, everyone listening then and now that they are part of something momentous, something historically significant, a continuation of a struggle as old as the nation itself for its very soul.
That context immediately elevates the demands, doesn't it, from just grievances to something fundamental?
Exactly. A fundamental challenge to the nation's integrity and its founding promises.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, because despite invoking that beacon of hope from a century prior, King immediately highlights this painful, undeniable truth. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. He just lays it out there. No mincing words about the continuing struggle, confronting that illusion that the fight was over with emancipation.
Yes, and that's such a crucial point for you listening today to grasp. Historic events, even landmark ones like the Emancipation Proclamation, they don't always fully resolve deeply embedded societal issues.
Right. Sometimes they're just the beginning of a new chapter.
Precisely. A new chapter in the struggle.
So this raises the question, what exactly does King mean by not free in this post-emancipation era? He doesn't just leave it general.
No, he doesn't. He details the sad, tangible realities of continued oppression with heartbreaking clarity. He illustrates the everyday indignities and systemic harms that fueled the movement. He illustrates how the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination.
Manacles and chains, the imagery is so visceral.
It is. Imagine the psychological and physical burden of living under the constant threat of those metaphorical chains, knowing your every move is dictated by these arbitrary, dehumanizing rules. He paints a vivid, almost heartbreaking picture of economic disparity, too, describing the Negro as living on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity.
Wow. Think about that image for a moment. Surrounded by wealth, yet cut off.
Isolated by systemic deprivation, unable to access the opportunities abundant around them. And furthermore, he states, they are still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land.
An exile in your own land. That's profound.
It really is a profound statement of alienation and marginalization, highlighting that deep psychological wound of being treated as a foreigner, an outsider, in the place of your birth, the country your ancestors helped build.
So the purpose of their gathering that day becomes crystal clear.
Starkly clear, stripped of any pretense. They've come to dramatize a shameful condition.
Yeah.
This isn't just about abstract rights or legal statutes. It's about the tangible daily experience of injustice, the lived reality of an unfulfilled promise for millions.
He's making it absolutely clear that despite a century passing, those foundational issues were still painfully unresolved.
Demanding a reckoning with the nation's conscience. And for you, understanding this context is vital because it explains why a powerful, nonviolent mass movement was not just desirable, but absolutely necessary.
To finally bring the nation face to face with its own glaring contradictions.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for us, and how does King translate this complex historical betrayal into something everyone can understand? He uses that powerful metaphor.
The check, yes.
In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. How does that financial analogy work so well, especially maybe for a new generation who might not grasp the full historical weight?
Well, this analogy is truly profound, and it's one of the most brilliant rhetorical devices in the entire speech. Because it translates complex legal and moral concepts into something immediately relatable. A simple, everyday financial transaction.
Right, everyone gets a bounce check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
King explains that when the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note, he clarifies, was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
So he's not asking for a favor, he's reminding the nation of its own promises.
Precisely. Asserting that these weren't just abstract ideals whispered in dusty halls, but a binding commitment, a sacred obligation made to every citizen. The problem, he states with stark clarity, is that America has defaulted on this promissory note, insofar as her citizens of color are concerned.
Defaulted. Strong word.
Very. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check. A check which has come back marked insufficient funds.
Insufficient funds. Wow! That's devastatingly effective.
And incredibly incisive. It conveys not a lack of value in the promise itself, but a systemic, deliberate failure to deliver on it.
It's not that the rights aren't valid.
Right. It's that the system, the Bank of Justice, has actively refused to honor them for a specific group of citizens.
It really frames it as a debt owed.
A historical debt.
Yeah.
And it raises that critical question for any society then or now. What do we do when our foundational documents outline ideals that the lived reality just demonstrably fails to deliver? King essentially demands a national reckoning.
Calling for accountability.
Exactly. Framing it not as a charitable request or a plea for pity, but a non-negotiable claim based on the nation's own stated values.
But he doesn't just stop at condemnation, does he?
No, he immediately shifts to a powerful declaration of resolve, a refusal to accept the unacceptable. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation.
That's crucial. Refusing to accept injustice as the final word.
Absolutely. It asserts that the resources for justice and equality do exist within the American system and spirit, waiting to be accessed. And so they have come, he says, to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice.
Upon demand.
Yes. This analogy distills centuries of struggle, the broken promises, the systemic denial of rights, the economic and social barriers. into a clear, relatable, and utterly non-negotiable demand for what was promised.
Their birthright as citizens.
Their birthright. For you listening today, it powerfully illustrates how a society's stated values can diverge from its lived realities and how a movement can demand accountability by simply asking for what was already promised.
Turning a moral grievance into a clear, tangible demand.
It's a masterclass in making a complex injustice undeniable.
Okay, so building on that powerful demand, King then shifts to the immediacy of their cause, emphasizing the fierce urgency of now. He really pushes back against any idea of delay or compromise, doesn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
For a new generation, maybe often taught that progress is slow or inevitable, this emphasis on now is such a direct challenge to complacency.
It is. He states there is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism.
The tranquilizing drug of gradualism, what a phrase!
Isn't it? It's a direct, forceful repudiation of any argument for slow, incremental change, or for waiting for the right time for justice, which is often just a tactic to defer uncomfortable demands.
Right. King saw gradualism as dangerous.
Yes, as a dangerous sedative that perpetuated suffering. His message is an immediate, unyielding call to action. He repeats the word now 4 times in quick succession.
That anaphor.
Exactly. Using that powerful rhetorical device to hammer this point home, building this undeniable rhythmic momentum. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice.
Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children.
That repetition isn't just a flourish, it's a moral imperative, a declaration that delay equals continued injustice,
And then he issues a warning.
a potent warning. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. He frames the ongoing struggle as a sweltering summer of the Negro's legitimate discontent, which will not pass until there is an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality.
So the status quo isn't just wrong, it's unsustainable.
Precisely. He makes it unequivocally clear that 1963 is not an end, but a beginning.
Meaning, the march wasn't the finish line.
No, it was a critical turning point, a new chapter. He warns those who hoped the movement would just blow off steam and will now be content, that they will have a rude awakening if the nation returns to business as usual.
And the consequence of inaction.
Grave. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges.
Wow. That emphasis on now is so crucial for today, pushing back against that sense that history just automatically corrects itself.
It really is. It's a powerful reminder that fundamental change often requires immediate, sustained, and unwavering demand, and that the fight for justice is always present, demanding active participation and vigilance.
But this fierce urgency, it comes with a critical directive on how the struggle must be conducted. King isn't just calling for action, he's outlining a moral framework.
Yes, he addresses his people directly.
Setting this profound standard not just for what they demand, but crucially, how they must demand it. How does he navigate that? That line between urgent demand and moral discipline.
Well, what's truly fascinating here is King's unwavering commitment to nonviolence and moral integrity. Even in the face of, immense provocation and systemic injustice, including physical attacks, brutal repression.
Right, the context was incredibly violent.
Absolutely. Yet he insists with powerful moral authority that in the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. He acknowledges the deep hurt and anger, but offers a pathway to channel that righteous indignation productively. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred.
That's a profound call for internal discipline.
It is an admonition against allowing anger and historical grievances to corrupt the purity and the moral high ground of the cause. He emphasizes that we must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to degenerate into physical violence.
And this wasn't just a tactic for the march, was it?
No, not at all. It was a foundational ethical principle of the entire civil rights movement, deeply influenced by Gandhi, by Thoreau, but rooted in King's own Christian faith. He summarizes this powerful philosophy by stating, again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force.
Soul force. Tell us more about that concept.
It's revolutionary, really. Transformative. It implies that the ultimate power lies not in physical might, not in returning violence for violence, but in moral courage, spiritual resilience, and the unwavering commitment to justice through nonviolent means.
So responding to hate with love, injustice with principle.
Exactly. Violence with a steadfast commitment to peace and moral witness, demonstrating a higher moral ground that ultimately aims to disarm, shame, and transform the aggressor, not just defeat them.
So it's about changing hearts and minds, not just laws.
Precisely. Challenging the nation's conscience through an ethical commitment that transcended mere tactics, proving that true power lies in moral authority and unwavering principle. For you, understanding this principle is key to grasping the depth of King's strategy.
Okay, and then King extends this moral framework, maybe surprisingly, to include those who might seem on the other side. He talks about unity. We cannot walk alone. That feels so radical, especially given the deep divisions back then. How did that inclusivity serve his vision?
Indeed. And it's really a testament to his visionary leadership, refusing to let the movement for Black liberation become an isolationist struggle. He directly addresses the potential for distrust that could easily fester within a long-oppressed community. He says, the marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people.
Acknowledging the allies.
Exactly. For many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. And they've come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom.
That statement is so critical, recognizing the solidarity present at the march itself.
Yes, using their presence as proof that the struggle for civil rights wasn't a narrow, insular fight, but a shared American endeavor for collective liberation. He proclaims, we cannot walk alone. And this isn't just about practical alliance. It's a profound statement of interconnectedness, of radical empathy.
Meaning true freedom for one group requires freedom for all.
That's the core of it. The chains of injustice, he implies, bind everyone, not just those they explicitly target.
Sure.
A society, King understood, cannot truly flourish if any part of it is oppressed.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
That's the idea echoing throughout his work. And as they walk, he asserts, they must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back.
So unwavering forward momentum and radical inclusivity.
That's the combination, a hallmark of his vision. It teaches us that authentic liberation movements seek to expand the circle of freedom, not restrict it. Understanding that the destiny of diverse peoples are fundamentally intertwined, and that true progress requires solidarity across perceived divides.
For you listening, it emphasizes that justice is often a collective enterprise.
Requiring empathy and solidarity across different experiences and backgrounds, recognizing our collective well-being is often tied together.
You know, I've always wondered about the specific, deeply painful grievances King was addressing that day. He doesn't leave them abstract. He lists them directly when he answers that rhetorical question, when will you be satisfied?
Yes, that part really hits home.
This is where the abstract concept of injustice becomes intensely personal, concrete, undeniably urgent. Can you walk us through some of those specific conditions?
Absolutely. This list truly brings the abstract concept of injustice down to a harrowing human level, painting a vivid and unfortunately still resonant picture of systemic harm. It articulates the everyday indignities, the physical dangers, the profound psychological wounds. He states, we can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality.
Right there at the top. Physical violence and intimidation by law enforcement.
A raw and undeniable violation of basic human dignity and safety. A constant shadow. He then points to the dehumanizing indignities of segregation and limited mobility. We can never be satisfied as long as our bodies, heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities.
Just imagine that. Planning a trip and being denied a room simply because of your skin color.
The constant humiliation, the practical barriers, sleeping in cars, driving endless hours. It's a profound denial of basic dignity and freedom of movement.
And the economic and social traps.
Yes, he notes they cannot be satisfied as long as the Negro's basic mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one, highlighting that cycle of poverty, urban decay, residential confinement created by discriminatory practices like redlining, where even moving offered no true escape, just a shift from one set of disadvantages to another.
And the impact on children.
Heartbreaking. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity by signs stating, for whites only.
Imagine the scar left on a child's mind by that. being told your inherent worth is diminished just because of how you look.
The crushing weight of it. And finally, he highlights the denial of political voice. We cannot be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote, and a Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote.
So both overt disenfranchisement in the South
Literacy tests, poll taxes, intimidation.
and the more subtle political alienation in the North.
Yes, where systemic issues or perceived lack of meaningful representation led to voter apathy. He powerfully concludes this list with that invocation of biblical imagery.
No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
From the prophet Amos, powerfully conveying this idea of an overwhelming, irresistible, cleansing force of justice that will sweep away all wrongs.
Transforming the moral landscape.
Exactly. Understanding these specific conditions helps us grasp the immense depth and breadth of his call for change, and why that fierce urgency of now wasn't just rhetoric, but a profound, necessary response to pervasive daily suffering.
It helps you see that while some specific examples might have changed, the underlying principles, justice, dignity, political agency, remain timeless.
And continue to fuel movements today.
King then shifts, doesn't he? From detailing the demands for justice to offering this profound empathy and recognition to those who have endured so much in the struggle.
Yes, he calls them veterans of creative suffering.
Acknowledging the deep sacrifices. It feels like a crucial pivot from detailing suffering to honoring those who suffered. What does he mean by creative suffering?
Well, this segment truly acknowledges the immense personal cost and profound resilience inherent in the fight. It shows King's pastoral heart, his deep understanding of the human toll. He says, with deep compassion, I am not unmindful that some of you have come here out of great trials and tribulations. Some of you have come fresh from narrow jail cells.
Speaking directly to people who had faced violence, jail.
And some of you have come from areas where your quest for freedom left you battered by the storms of persecution and staggered by the winds of police brutality. He's talking about the dogs, the fire hoses, the beatings. To call them veterans of creative suffering elevates their pain. It transforms it from mere victimization into an act of profound moral agency and power.
So suffering itself can be creative, redemptive.
That's what he suggests. He offers a deeply spiritual perspective, stating that unearned suffering is redemptive. It's a powerful theological and moral claim, suggesting that suffering endured without cause, when met with dignity, unwavering faith, and nonviolence, can serve a higher purpose.
Contributing to moral transformation.
Yes. It implies that the suffering of the oppressed can awaken the conscience of the oppressor and the wider society, creating a moral crisis that demands resolution. It's a call to turn pain into purpose.
To make adversity a catalyst for change.
Exactly. And then he sends them back to the front lines: Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, Georgia, Louisiana, the slums and ghettos of the North.
Back to the very places of intense prejudice.
But he urges them to return not in despair, but knowing that somehow this situation can and will be changed. This isn't passive hope. It's active, resilient faith rooted in moral certainty.
And crucially, let us not wallow in the valley of despair.
Right. This segment emphasizes the profound resilience and enduring faith required to sustain a movement when the odds seem insurmountable. It's a message that transcends time, offering hope and courage to anyone facing systemic injustice today, reminding them that their struggles, when creatively and righteously pursued, have power.
That they aren't in vain, but are the very engine of progress. Okay, after acknowledging the suffering, King pivots powerfully to the dream itself. And it's not abstract, is it? He says it's deeply rooted in the American dream.
Yes, that's so important.
Grounding his radical vision in the nation's identity, not presenting it as something foreign. What's the brilliance of connecting his dream so intrinsically to the American dream?
Well, what's truly insightful here is how King frames his aspiration not as something external to America or, as some foreign ideology trying to overthrow the existing order, but as the fulfillment of its core promise. He says, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream.
So he's not asking for something new in principle.
No. He's asking for America to finally live up to its own highest ideals, to close that yawning gap between its creed and its conduct. He specifically ties it to the nation living out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
Directly invoking the Declaration of Independence.
The very foundational document. It asserts that self-evident truth of universal equality.
That framing is incredibly powerful, isn't it? Rhetorically brilliant.
Absolutely. It means the civil rights movement, as King articulated it, wasn't an attack on America, but a profound plea for America to become more fully itself, to actualize the potential it declared at its birth. It transforms his seemingly radical vision, the idea of black and white equality, into a profoundly patriotic one.
Making it a dream for all Americans.
Exactly, not just one aggrieved group. He's arguing that until this dream of equality is realized for black Americans, the American dream itself remains incomplete, compromised, a hypocrisy even.
He's challenging the nation to be true to itself, to its soul.
Yes. For you, this highlights how movements for justice often call a society back to its own stated values, reminding it of the gap between its ideals and its reality, and demanding it courageously close that gap.
It shows how the dream of equality isn't just for one group, but for the moral integrity and flourishing of the entire nation.
Because a nation cannot be truly free if it denies freedom to any of its citizens.
And he doesn't just say he has a dream, he paints these incredibly specific, vivid pictures of what that dream looks like in reality.
The cinematic images.
Not vague hopes, but detailed visions of reconciliation and equality. Can you walk us through some of those, the ones that really define the heart of the speech?
Indeed. And these are arguably the most memorable and emotionally resonant parts, precisely because they're so concrete and aspirational. They allow you to visualize a transformed future.
Moving beyond the abstract to the deeply human.
Exactly. He dreams that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood.
Wow. Such a profound image of reconciliation, overcoming centuries of oppression.
Suggesting not just peaceful coexistence, but true human connection, shared community, a genuine reckoning and healing. The red hills evoking the very soil stained by slavery, now envisioned as a place of unity.
And Mississippi.
Yes, he envisions a powerful transformation for one of the most segregated and resistant states. That one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice.
From a sweltering desert to a life-giving oasis.
Vividly conveying the depth of change he anticipates. Mississippi was a bastion of white supremacy then, a place of extreme violence for activists. The oasis implies not just the absence of oppression, but the vibrant, flourishing presence of justice and true liberty, a place where life can finally thrive.
And Alabama.
For Alabama, another symbol of entrenched racism, he dreams that little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers.
Such a simple yet incredibly powerful image.
Childhood innocence unburdened by prejudice. A vision of innate human connection overriding learned hatred and societal division. It's about the next generation growing up where race isn't a barrier to simple human connection.
These aren't vague hopes at all. They're detailed images of transformation.
Offering a glimpse of what America could be if it truly lived up to its ideals. For you, these specific examples make the dream tangible and inspiring, illustrating the profound shift in human relations King truly envisioned.
A world where our shared humanity triumphs over imposed differences. And perhaps the most personal and enduring part of the dream, the part that resonates across generations, is about his own children.
Yes, it brings the grand vision right down to the individual level.
Making it incredibly relatable. What is that core personal hope?
Well, it raises that important question for all of us, then and now. How do we want to judge and value individuals? King shares his deepest, most heartfelt hope for his own family, a dream every parent holds. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
That single sentence, it just encapsulates a fundamental, radical shift.
It really does. It calls for a meritocracy of virtue, a society where an individual's worth, their potential, their place, is assessed based on their actions, their integrity, their inner qualities.
Their moral compass.
Right. Rather than on superficial, arbitrary external characteristics like race, it demands society look beyond the visible to the invisible, beyond the superficial to the substantive, to the true essence of a person.
And he punctuates these dreams with that repetitive cry.
I have a dream today. Yes, that repetition isn't just for emphasis, it's like a rhythmic incantation, building energy, conviction, a shared sense of possibility.
Pulling the listener deeper into the dream itself.
Making it feel immediate and tangible. And to broaden this vision even further, he invokes profound biblical imagery.
From Isaiah.
Yes, speaking of a future where every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.
That imagery envisions a world fundamentally reshaped.
Where obstacles are removed, disparities leveled, and a universal truth, a shared human dignity, is revealed and understood by all humanity, transcending all divisions.
Offering a profoundly hopeful outlook.
Focusing on inner worth, universal revelation, and a world where divine justice makes all things right. For you, this part emphasizes that the fight for justice is ultimately about fostering a society where every individual is seen and valued for who they truly are.
A principle that remains vital for cultivating an inclusive, equitable future for every child.
Absolutely.
So King doesn't leave us just with the dream, this beautiful aspiration. He gives us the roadmap, the tools, the belief needed to achieve it.
Yes, he transitions seamlessly from the vision to the necessary collective action, making it clear this dream requires persistent effort, shared commitment, unwavering faith.
How does he lay out that path from dream to reality?
Well, he emphasizes that this is our hope, and this is the faith that I go back to the South with. This isn't naive optimism, is it?
No, it feels like a robust, active faith born of struggle.
Exactly. Conviction, deep moral certitude. And he articulates how this faith will be the transformative force. With this faith, we'll be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope.
Hew out of the mountain. That's such an active metaphor. Hope isn't just found, it's carved out.
Yes, actively carved and created through arduous, deliberate, sustained effort. Chiseled from the very raw material of suffering and disillusionment, it speaks to the immense labor involved.
Piece by painful piece.
He continues, with this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood.
Jangling discords representing the racial strife, prejudice, division.
The cacophony, the disharmony, and the transformation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood suggests not just harmony but cooperation. The unique contributions of diverse parts coming together, each playing its distinct note to create something magnificent and whole.
Where differences contribute to unity, not division.
That's the vision. And this faith, he explains, will fuel concrete collective actions. He outlines the shared commitment required. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day.
That list of collective verbs emphasizes the communal nature of the struggle.
The shared burden, the mutual support necessary. It's a powerful reminder that fundamental societal change is rarely achieved by individuals acting alone.
But by a committed community, united by purpose, facing hardship together.
Exactly. For you, this part offers a powerful, timeless blueprint for activism and social change today, emphasizing that hope isn't passive.
It's actively built through collective work, shared struggle, and unwavering faith in a better future.
A future you are also called to help build.
And then that iconic refrain, "Let freedom ring." This section really elevates the dream, doesn't it? Like a national anthem.
It really does. Expanding the call for justice beyond any single group or region to embrace the entire country, transforming the dream into a universal demand.
A song of liberation for every corner.
And what's truly fascinating here is the sheer breadth and geographical scope of his vision. He states that this will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing.
Recontextualizing that classic patriotic hymn.
Yes, reclaiming the promise of America, asserting that its ideals of liberty are incomplete, even hollow, until they apply fully and equally to everyone. He's saying, this song is ours too, and its promise must be made real.
And then he lists all those places.
Systematically calling for freedom to ring from every corner. Meticulously listing locations representing the diverse landscape of America, symbolizing this pervasive, unescapable call for justice. And so let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. The North, let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Cultural power, let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, the industrial heartland.
Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. The West.
Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. Aspiration, the American dream itself. He's painting this comprehensive picture of a nation united in freedom.
Coast to coast, mountain to valley.
Yeah.
But he doesn't stop there. He makes sure to include the very places most associated with the struggle, the most entrenched resistance. That feels incredibly bold.
Precisely. And this is where the speech becomes even more confrontational and profoundly powerful, demonstrating King's unwavering courage. He emphatically adds, but not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia.
Stone Mountain. Wow, that's highly symbolic. Infamous for its Confederate carving KKK rallies.
Exactly. By calling for freedom to ring from there, King directly confronts the symbols of white supremacy and oppression, asserting that even the most hardened bastions of injustice must yield to liberty.
And Lookout Mountain, Mississippi.
Yes. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain to Tennessee, another site linked to the Confederacy. And then, with particular resonance, let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi.
Mississippi, arguably the most resistant and violent state back then.
A place of extreme danger for activists, rampant voter suppression, lynchings. Naming Mississippi was a direct challenge to its entrenched system of racial terror.
So including the Deep South, these specific places, underscores the universality of his vision.
And its uncompromising nature. It emphasizes that true freedom must penetrate everywhere. No part of the country can be left untouched.
It shows his dream wasn't just for abstract ideals, but for every single individual, every patch of land.
From the highest peaks to the smallest molehills, it's a powerful statement. Freedom must ring everywhere, or it doesn't truly ring anywhere.
For you, this demonstrates King's profound courage in directly addressing those strongholds of opposition.
Asserting that freedom cannot be partial or conditional. It must be universal and absolute. A demand that echoes powerfully today.
And the speech culminates in that truly electrifying, unforgettable moment, bringing everything together.
Yes, the climax. He envisions the day when their persistent effort, the collective action, the unwavering faith finally bear fruit. When the reverberations of "Let Freedom Ring" have echoed across the entire continent. He states that when this happens, when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, covering every conceivable corner.
On that glorious day,
We will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty we are free at last.
the ultimate picture of liberation, unity, the promise fulfilled.
A spiritual and moral triumph. And the inclusion of black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics is so crucial.
Universalizing the victory.
Making it clear the freedom King sought wasn't exclusive, not a zero-sum game, but a liberation for all humanity from the shackles of prejudice and division.
A vision of true brotherhood and sisterhood.
Where differences of race, religion, origin no longer create barriers, but are celebrated within a harmonious whole. Unity transcending near tolerance.
And using the spiritual, free at last.
Deeply significant. It connects the movement directly to the long, arduous history of enslaved Africans yearning for freedom, echoing generations of struggle, pain, unwavering hope.
Transforming a communal expression into a national universal declaration.
A collective sigh of relief and celebration. This culmination isn't just about legal equality, it's about a spiritual and moral redemption of the nation.
A moment when the dream becomes the lived reality for everyone, where the jangling discords find resolve into that beautiful symphony.
Exactly. For you, this ending underscores the profound hope that transcends historical circumstance, reminding us that the journey toward justice, however long and challenging, ultimately aims for a state of universal liberation and unity.
A future where everyone can truly be free at last.
Not just legally, but existentially. It's a powerful call to imagine that ultimate destination and work towards it, knowing the profound joy of that shared freedom.
Wow, what a deep dive into a profoundly impactful speech. It's so clear that Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream is so much more than just a historical artifact, something to admire from afar.
Absolutely.
It's a powerful call to action, a moral compass whose needle still points true, and a boundless wellspring of hope, connecting those deep injustices of the past to a transformative vision for the future, a vision that feels incredibly relevant for your generation today.
His words really distill the challenges of his time into these universal principles, that fierce urgency of justice, the transformative power of nonviolence and soul force, the essential interconnectedness of all people's destinies, and that ultimate vision of unity and equality based on character. This framework remains incredibly relevant for understanding and addressing injustices in any era, urging us to constantly strive for a more perfect union, to continually hold ourselves and our societies accountable to their highest ideals.
So for you, listening to this today, think about King's message. He speaks of hewing out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. He challenged a nation to live up to its creed, to address its insufficient funds on that promissory note of freedom. His dream wasn't just for his time, it was for the future. Consider this. What does it mean for you to contribute to that ongoing work, wherever you are, based on the principles of dignity, brotherhood, and the content of character that he so eloquently outlined?
Yeah, how do you participate in carving that stone of hope from the despair around you?
And how do you help bring that symphony of brotherhood closer to reality in your own life and community?
It's a powerful thought to carry forward from this deep dive.
The dream lives on, and its realization still depends on your engagement, your courage, and your unwavering faith.
Believer talks, let's take a look. Life and hope in every book.